Chaz, what principles in your own life's journey inspired the journey to writing FECK, and when did the acronym occur to you?
So I actually probably it's only as an adult that I realized how fortunate I was to be born in the family that in which I was born, because I had this mother who I thought was a goddess. My mother was almost 6 feet tall. And I remember when I was a little girl, when I would walk with her, and my mother, she wore high heels, and my dad was like only about maybe 5'8" or 5'9" or something. So my mother was taller, wore these high heels. She was this regal lady. Her name was Johnny. The kids called her Miss Johnny. And she would she was so loving and so kind to me and my brothers and sisters. I had four brothers and four sisters, and we all just absolutely adored both of our parents, but especially my mom. So compassion, love, uh, kindness, empathy. I mean, all of those things, when I really think about it, I grew up with because of that household. But that's not why I wrote the book. To tell you the truth, Pat, I don't know why I wrote the book. It really feels like it was a download from the universe. I started out writing a book about something else, and this book evolved.
Very interesting. So, we live in difficult times. Our digital footprint has made our lives
Can,
both better and worse. Our
can,
political differences seem hopeless, and our relationships seem less close as we age. In your experience putting the book together, how can these factors be tolerated better if we just give effect?
you know what? By giving effect, you actually show respect for other people, and you realize as we get older, we're not going to always agree on things. You know, I hate to say this, but like in the olden days, like when we were younger, let's
Yeah,
say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago,
yeah,
really, when you think about 15 or 20 years ago, if we disagreed with someone, that didn't mean that we hated them and wanted to burn their house down, or,
yeah.
wanted to banish them to another country. So the society has gotten more divided. And that's where elevating humanity through remembering, having some empathy for someone, putting yourself in the shoes of another is more important today than ever. And when you put yourself in the shoes of another, it really helps you develop a little more compassion for that person. And it helps you maybe want to do some act of kindness.
It's
So,
beautiful. So, on your website, you talk about Roger's contributions to the foundation of the book. In your long relationship with him, how much of a shift in life and attitude did he make from your early relationship up to his passing? And how did it affect you as a couple as you navigated those changes, including his illness, within the principles of FECK?
so, you know, if Roger hadn't been such a good husband, then the book would have been different. But he actually lived the principles that he believed in. Empathy for him in movies. He always talked about movies being a machine that generates empathy,
Right.
that lets you see what it's like to be a person of a different race or age or socioeconomic status or a different political persuasion, which today is really important. And I could tell that, when he was sick, you would forgive a person if they talked about one thing, and when they were sick, they sort of let go of that and only thought about themselves.
Right.
But Roger believed and lived those principles right up until his last breath. Sure, there were times when he was so sick that all he could think about was the four walls of the hospital. But as soon as he felt even a little better, he wanted to write. We had to, we were sneaking movies into him, that the studios would send. And he would write, and you could see that he was connecting to people, connecting to, I keep using the word humanity, but that's really so much what our relationship was about and what
So beautiful.
the book is about and what he was about and his theory on empathy at the movies.
Right, right. And he was an only child, right? And he came into the family of you with
Yes.
that must have been something. Okay. Uh,
He was an only child. He loved my big family.
I'm
He
sure.
loved my big family and they loved him. My
Uh,
mother loved him. You know, he never got to meet my father. My father passed away before Roger and I got together. But my son and my daughter loved him. My nieces and nephews absolutely adored him. My brothers and sisters, you know, just they just all loved him. And he and being an only child and getting that much attention from a big family like that was like, you know, like a kid on Christmas morning when he
oh,
was
that's
around.
just beautiful,
Yeah,
man.
he had a
So
lot of fun.
beautiful. You know, around the holidays, people often reflect on the year past and their appreciation for loved ones. How does the meditation of forgiveness, empathy, compassion, and kindness best suit this time of year and the hope for a new year?
Usually, sometimes this time of the year, I will go out of town, maybe someplace warmer. But this year, we're staying in, and I decided to have like a very small dinner party for a few friends, and then on Christmas Day, I'm opening up my home to my family
Okay.
because that's what, as we, you know, we were putting up the Christmas tree. I'm, you know, decorating, I'm putting up lights and finding all of these things. But in my heart is really the joy of, here's the word again, connecting with people and making sure that we don't isolate. You know, remember how a little sad it was during the pandemic when
Yeah.
some people didn't have people that they could connect with. So I think it's so important to just reopen up, to have that joy. Joy is another one of my favorite words. And
Nice.
Roger used to call it untamed joy. And this is a time of you just let your joy go untamed. I love it. I love Christmas. I love, you know, although Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. You know why? Because we have gratitude for the people in our lives and we don't have to worry about buying presents for them.
Right,
You
right.
know, so, but Christmas is fun too.
Yeah. So you are a dynamic and inspirational speaker. I was moved by your speech at the SIF Awards.
Hmm.
Which oratory in history, past or present, motivates you as a speaker, and how do you apply that motivation to the directness and compassion in your speeches?
I love listening to people who are good speakers and um, offhand, I could, I'm actually, you know what, for the purposes of this, I'm going to tell you the one person that I would marvel at when he spoke, and that's Roger. And I saw what he did. I said, how do you do that? He said, find the one person that you're talking to. You're not talking to the whole audience. He said, when I'm on stage and the lights are in my eyes, I can't even see who's in
Right,
the audience, but I
right,
find the one person, or if I can't see it, I will think about one person that I want to direct my speech to and I want to connect with. He said, and so that prevents you from being nervous about it because you really care. You want to do your all
right.
for that person. He said, and also think about how you would, what you would want someone to tell you. He said, and so he said that those are
That's
kind of
beautiful.
his things. But I think also because he really did care so much about connecting with people. Maybe because he was an only child, I don't know. But it, yeah, you know, he's the one. He's the example I would give. And let me
So,
tell you one other thing that I was
yeah,
impressed with about Roger, and I think you knew it, Pat. He cared so much for his community of film critics.
he did.
He really did. I saw him fight battles when we would go to LA because at one time they didn't look at you know, before the Chicago Film Critics Association was formed, there were, you know, people used to think, oh, there was Roger Ebert and there's Gene Siskel. And I didn't think so much about the other film critics in Chicago. And Roger said, no, we have a whole a whole group of film critics, and he said, you're letting people in LA see these films, or you're letting people in New York see these films. You've got to let our Chicago film critics see them. And it's not just me and Gene. And he fought, I mean, fought for the right. He really cared so much about the community of film critics here in Chicago.
Well, the first day I was in the screening room, I went up to him and I said, "The only reason I'm here is because you're here." So that sums it up.
Oh.
Finally, you are still very much connected to the film scene, of course. Have you figured out your top film for 2024, and is it connected to FECK?
Okay. The answer is yes. I figured out number one, and the answer is it connected to FECK? Yes.
Excellent.
In fact, at RogerEbert.com, we just published a list of the top 10 films from about 39 different critics.
Nice.
And I start the article by giving my number one film, which is Amelia Perez.
I love it.
I know that film divides some people, but I absolutely love it. I like seeing a film that has a character that I wouldn't have even conceived of. Who would think of a Mexican cartel boss who wants to be trans?
It's
Who also, the whole thing, the musical, a musical. I mean, Zoe Saldana, superb in that film.
Absolutely.
Her movements, her dance, her passion. There's so much I love about that film. The actresses from that film got the first quartet actress of it. All four were awarded the Actress Award at Cannes this past summer, because it was just so amazing. And I think that film got a lot of Golden Globe nominations. And it was just my number one film. And in fact, I went back to watch it again because I loved it beyond all reason. I said, wait a minute, maybe I had some lapse because I knew some people didn't like it so much they were putting it down. I went back and watched it again, loved it even more. Emilia Perez.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2024.